In this video, traders, we are going to look at trading discipline versus trading self-discipline. Is there a difference? If so, what is it? Stay tuned. Hey guys, a very warm welcome to you. So if you're tuning in, you're probably struggling with discipline of some form or another, or you want to improve it. You're breaking rules in trading and it's frustrating. If that's you, then make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're not already, because we try and cover stuff like this all the time on this channel. Discipline's a big thing that we dip into every now and then. Hopefully you'll pick up a few useful nuggets. Anyway, that being said, is there a difference between trading discipline and trading self-discipline? So there is a podcast, an article, or there are podcast articles specifically from special forces guys in the military, and I quite like listening to some special forces guys are reading the books because I enjoy reading the stories and listening to the stories as well, but there's also a kind of life lesson from that as well. And so fully recommends, especially someone like Jocko Willink, the others kind of escape my mind, but those kind of guys, they talk about discipline, or one of them specifically talked about discipline and self-discipline and how there's two distinct differences. So when someone goes into the military, and by the way, if anyone's in the military watching this and they can correct me, please do. I've not been in the military, so this is purely from reading books, listening to podcasts, etc. No first-hand experience, so would welcome any comments and corrections that need to be made to this. You've got to find a first phase, if you like, that everyone goes through where you're told what to do and your discipline is to do what you are told. That is why the military works so effectively, is that you are told something, you do it. Your commanding officer tells you to do something and all the people under his command do it, and they have to do it without question and trust the commanding officer, and that commanding officer trusts his commanding officers, etc., and the whole structure works because of that discipline that's instilled. Then, however, you move to perhaps special forces, and special forces is different. You're not being told what to do. I'm sure there are platoon commanders and there is some structure, but when there's a group out, whatever they're doing on some kind of mission, and you're in an awkward situation where the dynamics are changing, the situation's fluid, it requires self-discipline to do the right thing that you know and constantly be aware of what's going on around you. Now, look at how this parallels with trading, right? We start off with trading and we know that, hey, we've got to take a trade when X does this. In other words, let's say we're buying a breakout, right? So buying a breakout, usual kind of stuff, whatever happens, bang, we're buying that. We've done all our due diligence and all our other research, don't need to go into that. That's phase one, and that's the discipline to pull the trigger. Okay, so that's just phase one. Now, and I would mark that as discipline. Now, self-discipline is phase two, right? It's easy enough to pull the trigger, and okay, we do have problems with that sometimes, and that's something we talked about before on the channel, how to improve you to pull the trigger if you don't. But when you're in the trade, very often you'll come out too soon, you'll get spooked out of the trade, you'll take on too much size, you'll add to the trade, you'll do things in the trade because you're being influenced by the ever-changing nature of the market. See the parallel we've got kind of with military and with trading with this specific example. Obviously there's no lives on the line, so let's put it into perspective here, but you get the point. The idea is the situation's ever changing. You're in the market, maybe it pulls back a little bit. Oh, what do I do? My target happens to be up here. I've got to get to that, but it's pulling back a little bit and looking a bit tricky now. Do I bail? Do I go back? Do I close a position? How do I trade it? And it's having that self-discipline to stick to your plan and having a plan. Many people don't have a plan once they're in. They're like, oh, well, there's my entry, there's my stop, there's my target. Okay, well, are you going to come out? You obviously will want to come out of something different changes, but what is that going to be? Same with, I would assume, the military plan and prepare for every mission. So if insurgents come here and do this, and if there's a certain amount, we will back to this point, we'll hold the ground here, we'll call in reinforcements. If it's one or two, we'll engage, we'll do this or do that. There's probably multiple scenarios planned out in the mission. And why shouldn't that be the same with trading? Because if we know what we're doing, then we can exert and we can exercise the self-discipline when we're in phase two, we're actually in the trade, to hold the trade or to come out of the trade if it's not working. We're not just shooting from the hip, so to speak, a bad analogy, but you get the point. We're exercising the self-discipline, self-control to stay in the trade. And there's probably a few different things as well here, guys. Self-discipline of how you're behaving outside of the market as well. Not just doing what you're told with discipline, i.e., yes, I must do this, I must just pull the trigger when this happens, but self-discipline of doing what you know is in your best interest, but if you don't do it, there's no immediate consequences to it. Discipline here, if you don't pull the trigger, there's an immediate consequence of not being in the trade. Self-discipline, perhaps not journaling, perhaps coming in late, not preparing, coming out of trades a bit soon. Maybe there's no immediate damage, but over the longer term, that self-discipline, the lack of self-discipline there will show its head in your P&L. And so it's almost like the hidden one and the visible one. So those are my thoughts on, guys, on discipline versus self-discipline. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are they very similar? Am I going down a rabbit hole that's not really there? Or is it worth segmenting into discipline and self-discipline so that you can work on those distinct areas, so you can master one, move on to the next, and then perhaps even further segment those so you can work on one thing at a time, which I know if you're a subscriber, guys, appreciate your support. I'm a big advocate of improving the self-discipline, improving discipline, working on one little thing at a time. All right, guys, if that's helped, thumbs up is appreciated, so I know that you guys like this stuff and we can do more. Take care. Bye-bye.